What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos Comics and Pop Culture. Today, I'm going to be looking at this post that was in a Facebook comic book group. I responded to it, and we're going to break down one thing, what the post is about, and second thing, the response of this individual in regards to how he collect comics. And he's got to be the greatest comic book collector ever because nothing he's bought has ever lost him money. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, please take the time to do so. Check out all the links in the description below, including the link to my Whatnot storefront. That's right, storefront. I have hundreds of books listed, constantly adding books. I have great buy it now deals, and you can make offers on anything. And if you aren't signed up for the app yet, use that link, sign up. You get $15 off your first purchase from anyone on the app. So let's go into this video, and I want to state first and foremost that I'm throwing out perspective here, and I really want all of your guys' feedback. Throw some comments below after you watch the video, because I don't want to come off as being too harsh or being an a-hole. Like, I really want your guys' honest opinion, because I may be looking at this from kind of a harsh perspective, but I think it's one for us that is important to break down. Now, let's just look at the post itself. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much does ROI, return on investment, affect your purchases? So you're already going to have kind of probably a wide range. I mean, you're seeing that people are already laughing at this post. It's because you have a set of collectors that are going to laugh at this, because it's like, guys, like, we're collecting comics because we love comic books. We want to, we want to read the stories. We buy the books to read. We're not in it to get rich. But then, of course, you have a large set of collectors that invest in the hobby and look at comic book purchases as investments. Now, obviously, there's a lot of nuances there, because, well, are we talking about Golden Age stuff? Because we all know that Golden Age comic books are a well-rounded investment as a collector's item. Silver Age, a lot of Silver Age stuff. Obviously, it's a collectible. People collect to invest into possibly grow their investment, get an ROI. Clearly, we know that there's a lot of FOMO in the hobby, no matter what they're buying, even if it's modern books, variants, exclusive, incentives, etc. So we're going to get a large range of responses simply to this question right here. And let me say this, as you guys have watched my channel for years, there's no wrong or right answer. I personally, through the years, I started collecting as a kid because I love comics. But even when I was a kid, there was a part of me that, knew how, this hobby can be something to where what I am buying can end up being a valuable collectible that can in turn make me more money. So investing in the hobby has always been something that has been a part of my purchasing decisions, but of course not the whole of my purchasing decisions. And overall, I buy what I like and what I love. So I'm going to go straight to the comment that I responded to this individual, because I, for one, I am looking at this post as, in a whole, this individual is purchasing probably new books, modern books, and even random back issues. I don't think this individual is speaking solely on Golden Age or even Silver Age or Blue Chip Keys, because if he was talking about those specific parts of the market, I think the answer to this question would be more relevant to say, yeah, of course we are looking at ROI if that's how we're collecting. This is what I said. I said, do you buy a car and expect it to sell at a higher price once you drive it off the lot? No? Good. Now have those same expectations when buying comics, because 99% of comics depreciate. I came with this response because of one reason. For one, it's a fact. 99% of comic books depreciate in value. If you even look at certain Bronze Age books and Copper Age books, even if we're buying them for higher than cover price, we have to factor in inflation and the value of the dollar going down. If you're buying a Bronze Age book for $3, you're probably paying cover price when you include inflation and the value of the dollar going down. So, and if you think about expenses, what it takes for you to, if you're selling bag and board a book, etc. If you're selling a Bronze Age book for, a couple bucks, $2 or $3, are you actually making money? And is that book actually appreciating? Now, of course, a lot of us, especially those resellers and dealers that are buying Bronze Age books, back issues books for even less than cover price. I mean, in wholesale, some people are buying books a nickel a dime, 15, 20 cents a book, and they're reselling them. And then, yeah, clearly they're making money. It's not necessarily the books themselves have appreciated, but they're getting them at a under market value to where they can then sell them at a market value and make a profit. That's a whole different thing when we're talking about appreciating and depreciating. So now I broke down kind of my response to the actual post and the question thereof, but now let's look at this individual. This is a different individual that's responding to my post. This individual says, I only buy gold, silver, and Bronze Age comics. I expect 100% of them to appreciate. Okay, so let's look at this. If you are buying Golden Age, Silver Age, and Bronze Age comics and expect 100% of them to appreciate simply because those books are from that era, you are setting yourself up for failure. Because even looking at it as an entire age, entire sub-market, all of those books are not appreciating, especially depending on what you pay for them, right? So right now, we have no golden, silver, or Bronze Age comics on a primary market. Everything you find is going to be on a secondary market. We still, even with the declining market over the last few years, coming out of the COVID boom, prices in many areas are still falling. The economy is still hurting. Inflation is still rising. We don't know that we can buy a Silver Age key today, and in 2 months, we won't be able to sell it at that price. So there is no guarantee that even Silver Age or Bronze Age key books are going to appreciate in value from what you pay for them. If you're paying what is considered arguably a fair market value today, than what they're going to sell for 2, 3, 6 months down the line. That's how questionable the market is right now. So now Golden Age, though, still is kind of in a league of its own, right? But even still, nothing is written in stone with any market, stock market, gold, anything. This was my response. I said, Golden Age comics, of course, are in a league of their own, but even Silver Age as a whole is not an investment asset. If you're looking at D-list titles or independent, especially if you're looking at D-list titles or independent titles, and Bronze Age comics are nowhere near close. There is so much Bronze Age stuff that sells at the price of inflation from its cover price, and that's it. If you're expecting all of your Bronze Age books to appreciate, especially in the current market where prices don't even reflect a true fair market value, based on market equilibrium and true supply and demand, you're in for a rude awakening. And what I'm meaning there in terms of market equilibrium and true supply and demand, comic books already, when we look at a fair market value, it's not based on a true market supply. It's based on more of a market availability. All right. So market availability leans to like when you see we have like monopolies on essential resources like water or electricity. So there doesn't need to be a scarce supply of water or electricity. But when the deliverer of that good or that essential, need for water or electricity, if we can only get it from one supplier, they can upcharge us all they want. That's what happens when you have a monopoly on something. So we can see the price of something rise, not based on supply and demand, but based on market availability. If all that's available on the market for me is PG&E electricity, I don't have anywhere else to go, even if there is a massive amount of supply. It's all being hoarded, right? Same thing with comic books. There can be a massive amount of a certain book, even if it's a key book, like, I don't know, Hulk 181, or let's even say Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 300. Those books aren't scarce, but they can be what is considered scarce on the market in terms of market availability. Why? Because the majority of people that have a Hulk 181 or an ASM 300 aren't selling, they're hoarding it. So now we base what we are willing to pay for a book not on necessarily supply, but market supply and availability at any given time. So when we set those standards, even if a certain amount more of these books flood the market at once because people are hurting for money, the perceived fair market value of that book can keep that fair market value in at the purchasing perception to where it doesn't lower. It doesn't matter that, 3 times the amount of books are flooding the market now for whatever reason. If we're just looking at last sold, or we're looking at like, well, what has this been selling for the last few months? We might go in thinking that a set floor is a fair market value, where we're not allowing supply and demand based on market availability to kind of catch up to itself. That happens in comic book buying, especially on the secondary market, all the time. That's why this analogy is dangerous. Now, this individual responded again, and this is what they said. I only buy what will appreciate, not dollar box. I guess he means like dollar box comics, unless there's a bargain issue in them. So far, 100% of my comics have appreciated. I sat with this one for a while, folks, and the only thing I can respond with was, so cool. Now, this is where I might be coming off as an a-hole, and you guys can let me know in the comments. Like, be honest with me. But like this guy, like, look, Kelly, like, I don't know what your intent is here. I don't know if you're trying to be, but to me, like, this is the problem with collectors. Either one, he's just meaning something and it's not coming off right. Like, I try to buy only what I believe will appreciate in value. I am a smart collector in that sense. I collect to invest in, I do my due diligence before I buy, and I make sure that I'm not paying above what I think is a fair market value. Could be that, and he's just not expressing himself right. Or it could be that this guy is just completely arrogant. And I'm sorry, folks. I'm going to lean to the latter. I'm going to lean to the fact that I think this guy is completely arrogant. I do. And I think this is the problem that we get. I mean, it's cultural all around, especially on social media. People have egos. But I think this is arrogance that we see in comic book collecting. It's like, who has the better collection? I'm such a good investor in comics that 100% of my books haven't appreciated. Now, Kelly, I don't know what you have in your collection, but I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that everything that you own, that you've purchased, that you could keep receipts on, and if you were to put it on the market right now, that you would be able to sell everything that you purchased for more than what you paid for it. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt it. And I don't care if you're only buying Silver Age or Golden Age or Bronze Age keys. Unless you basically have not bought anything over the last at least 5 years, but I'm going to say 10 years. If you haven't bought any comic books over the last 10 years and everything you own was purchased pre-2014, and you bought it at deal prices back then, okay, maybe I'll believe you. I have bought Silver Age keys, Bronze Age keys, and even Silver Age, some of my Amazing Spider-Man, Silver Age Spider-Man stuff, which even in this market right now has held its value really good. I bought some of those somewhere in between the last 5 years to where I wouldn't be able to sell them for what I paid for it. And I'll be the first to admit it. The majority of collectors out there, if you had made any purchases from yesterday to the last 5 years, I guarantee there is at least one to a handful of books in your collection, depending on how much spending you did or buying you did, that you won't be able to sell at the for what you paid. Period. Period. And we have to be cautious moving forward. Even the market right now, like I said, there is no guarantee. Like, what book did I just buy? I just bought, some of my early ASM stuff. There is no guarantee that I'll be able to sell those books for what I paid or for more than what I paid 6 months from now at that price and make my money back. There's not. There's simply not. So I find this response extremely arrogant. I think he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. And if we want to be arrogant like that out there, go ahead at your own risk. Look, I've always been the voice of reason on my channel. I've always been the one that stands up for the gatekeepers that say, oh, the right way to collect comics. This is the real way to collect comics. Like, get off your high horse. People collect comics because they love the stories. People collect comics because they love the art. People collect comics because they see it as an investment. I do all of them. And none of them are right and wrong. Now, are some silly? Can I look at some and be like, hey, you're making bad choices and maybe you're uneducated and you don't know what you're doing? Sure, we've all been there. Even I've been there. I've talked about how I went ham on the DC Rebirth stuff. The stupid decision I ever made. Stupidest decision I ever made to waste all that money. We've all done it. Michael Jordan lost games, guys. He didn't win them all. We have to humble ourselves and admit. This is why I've not called out, but in my own testimonies, in my testament that I come here, I challenge any other content creator. We're a business. We want to sell our comics. We want to sell our videos. We want clicks and views. Absolutely. And, we love the hobby in all aspects. When there's money being brought into the hobby, it's a good thing. But it is fallacious to say that, or to argue with me when I say 99% of comics depreciate in value. It's a fact. It's a fact. If you want to argue that, you're simply wrong. It's a fact. It is a fact to say, too, that even keys right now, even blue chip keys, the value that you paid for them right now or over the last few years is not guaranteed to hold to where that value, that book at that value can appreciate. It's a fact to say that. And I'm going to stand on it. So, with that being said, we can still be here and collect our comics whichever way we want and appreciate them. Like I said, anybody that just wants to read comic books and collects for the love of the hobby and you don't care about ROI, thank a variant collector because they're keeping floppy comics alive, baby. Believe it. Believe it. All these people dropping $200 on that new incentive exclusive, believe it. They're keeping your cover A of your favorite title alive. Believe it. But that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please check out the links as well. Check out the Whatnot store, folks. This summer, I hope to be dropping thousands more for my PC. So, with that being said, thank you all. Be well. And until next time.